One. Oh!
I got all my pens. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Yeah, you guys ever play doctor when you were kids?
Sure.
Yeah, when I was in kindergarten, I was playing doctor with one of my classmates. It was all fun until she started playing proctologist. And you know, one of my friends, he's like a real white guy. He's like super duper white though. I think he's like part albino. Hey, he's so white when he comes to my house, all my plants start growing in his direction. And you know, whenever I have sex, like, I never last as long as I'd like to, you know? I'm like, come on, penis, hang in there. And it's always just like, screw this. Blech. And I used to go to water parks every summer, you know? But then one summer I had a kind of traumatic experience, so I stopped going. And when I was 16, I was at Raging Waters. And I was on the stairs, right, just waiting for the slide. And I look up, and this girl, she's about the same age as me, but her boobs are like right in my face, you know? And it's kind of cold and windy, right? So her nipples are popping out. So I was like, oh, you know, so I turn. But then this girl over here, her face is like right in my junk, you know? I already got a partial woody going. And then she like yawns, right? And I was like, oh, wow, you know? And so it was like over. I was like, bing, you know? I was like, oh crap, you know, I gotta get out of here, right? So I run up the stairs to the slide, and apparently it's pretty common at Raging Waters because the lifeguard was like, come on, just go, right? So I jump in the slide, and I get out of there. And I was like, man, they really need to rename this place. They should call this place Raging Boners. Why didn't the oyster share his food?
Why?
He's shellfish. There's this guy, right? He's a sailor, and he's hired aboard this ship. And then they're out at sea for about 6 months. And then he's talking to his buddy. He's like, hey, when are we going to go back into port, right? I'm getting kind of horny out here. And he's like, oh, no, we're not going back into port for another 6 months. And he's like, what? I can't wait that long. He's like, well, have you tried the barrel? It's like, no, what's that? So he takes him to this room with the barrel in it, and there's a hole in the barrel. And he's like, there you go. And so he starts fucking the barrel, and it works really well, right? And he's talking to his buddy. He's like, yeah, that barrel was awesome, you know? I'm going to use it every day. He's like, well, every day but Sunday, right? It's like, oh, you can't use it on Sunday? It's like, well, you can, but Sunday's your day in the barrel. So. What do you call a guy that can make a business suit real fast? Taylor Swift. And you know, a lot of times when a guy like is bragging about how big his dick is, it's usually the opposite, right? It's usually really small, you know? Yeah, I was talking to this guy the other day, and he's like, oh yeah, man, my dick's so big, I'm hung like a horse. I was like, psh, yeah, like a seahorse. Yeah, I think Shaquille O'Neal's like the happiest man on earth, right? You know, he's always so jolly, like everyone just loves him. I think because he's never been bullied, you know? Like, how are you gonna mess with some guy who's so tall that his crotch is in your face, right? It's like, hey, Shaq, give me your lunch money. Never mind. Yeah, you know that thing going around where, like, if you're a lady and you're alone in the woods, would you rather run into a bear or a strange man? And a lot of women are choosing the bear, right? But I think that's just ignorance of bear knowledge. Because I ran into a bear alone in the woods once. Yeah, and he fucked the shit out of me. And you know, earlier this year, scientists for the first time documented 2 male humpback whales having sex. Yeah, Warner Brothers are already going to make a movie about them. Yeah, they're called Humpback Mountain. Yeah, it's weird how language changes over time, right? Like nowadays, if a guy came up to me and told me he was going to blow my brains out, I wouldn't know whether to run away or pull my pants down. Yeah, I was watching this Bigfoot show the other day, and it struck me as how dedicated these Bigfoot hunters were. Yeah, you know, they're like so devoted to something that might not even be real. Like comedians in their careers. Yeah, I was in the United States Army, 1st Cavalry Division, Fort Hood. It was pretty cool, you know. It was weird being the only Asian person, though. Yeah, every day people were just looking at me like, are we supposed to shoot this guy? Yeah, it's pretty cool being in the Army, you know. You get some good benefits, but I'd say the best benefit is the ability to give old men hard-ons. Yeah, old men, they love hearing Army stories. You know, I guess because it makes them feel better about the future or gives them hope or something, but like if I meet some old man at a park and I start telling them Army stories, I'm telling you, he'll start coming all over me. Yeah, let me see, I'll tell you a story, an Army story right now. Alright, I'll go for this. Alright, it was the day we did M60 training, right? The M60 is a light machine gun, right? It's the Rambo gun, you know? Anyway, we're sitting there, it's 200 of us, and we're watching our 4 drill sergeants shoot the Rambo gun the correct way, right? They're laying there, short control burst. Anyway, one of them's like, fuck this, you know? And so he jumps up, and he picks up the gun, and he starts holding it like Rambo, right? With one arm like this, and the other arm, he's holding the bullets, you know? And he starts shooting like, da, 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 he's like, ah, right? And then the 200 of us were watching this, we're like, what the fuck? We're like, fuck yeah, it's fucking awesome, right? Now the other 3 drill sergeants, they hear us cheering, right? And then, so they're looking around like, what's going on? And they see that guy standing up, so they're like, oh, fuck this. So they all stand up and they pick up their machine guns. And they all start shooting and shit. So you got 4 grown men standing there with machine guns, just sawing away, screaming, ah! And behind them is 200 younger guys. And we're all screaming like, fuck yeah, fuck it's fucking awesome. Oh man, it was the most testosterone-filled event I've ever been part of and shit. And by the end of the day, we all had fucking sore throats and full-grown beards and shit. Alright, another story. This is nothing new, Thurman. Okay, so one time when I saw real-life cowboys, I don't know if you'd ever seen real-life cowboys, but they're pretty impressive, like, at least the ones I saw. Anyway, I was driving across country, and I was in Nebraska, and I got off the freeway because I just wanted to look around. And right when I did that, I was like, oh shit, this is a huge mistake. Because there was like 50 cows in front of me, you know, they're like coming right at me, it's like a wall. And so I stopped my car, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do now, you know? I'm like, should I back up or something? But then right then, the cows, they start parting, you know? And I could see why, it's because these 2 guys are riding up on horses. And they're like, yeah, right? And because of them, the cows are partying, they're doing that for me, right? So I drive past them, you know, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, man, these guys are fucking awesome. Like, they're both like maybe 6'3", like 230 pounds. Like the older one was maybe 35, and the younger one was like 25. And they both had like cowboy hats and jackets, and like they both had pistols and shit. And I was like, it was all snowing, you know, and I was in the army, you know, so I seen some tough people, but these motherfuckers were tough as nails and shit. I was like, man, look at these fucking guys, you know? And then I jerked off and went on my way. How much time left? I guess a little bit of time left. I'll tell you one more story. The time I met The Rock, right? I was at the DMV, just right over here. And me and my buddy were getting our licenses renewed. And we were waiting in line. He's like, hey, you see that guy over there? And I'm like, yeah. He's like some guy in the middle talking to one of the supervisors. He's like, I think that's The Rock, right? And I looked, and I'm like, no, I don't think so, because he looked kind of slim. But then he smiles, right? And I'm like, you know what, maybe. So I look around the room, and everyone's just looking at him, just kind of pointing at him and stuff. And you could feel this excitement, like building and stuff. It's like literally every second, it's like building. And at one point, this girl screams, it's The Rock, right? And everyone's like, oh shit. Anyway, when I go to get my picture taken, he cuts the line. He cuts the line right in front of me. And so he's like standing there right in front of me, just looking at me. And I could have asked for his autograph or a picture or anything, but I was so starstruck. You know, I couldn't do anything, just stare at him, just go. You know, the only thought in my head was, that's The Rock. That's The Rock. That's The Rock. And then he was just looking at me like, whatever. And he turned and got his picture taken. And then after, a bunch of people were like coming up to him and getting autographs and pictures and stuff. And I was looking at him, I was like, man, that guy's so cool, you know? Like, you could just tell that he was just so happy that people were being nice to him. And I was like, you know, if I ever see The Rock ever again, I'm gonna go right up to him and go, because it's The Rock, I can't help myself. All right, tell you some more jokes. Yeah, you know, I've had sex with all different types of women, like white, black, Asian, Hispanic. In my opinion, Asian women give the best blowjobs. Yeah. If any of you ladies like to prove me wrong, you can meet me in the bathroom later. Yeah, you know, this new disorder going around called Usher syndrome, and it makes you go blind and deaf. It's pretty serious, right? You know, I always thought when you got Usher syndrome, it just made you go, yeah. Yeah, one of my buddies is Muslim, you know, and so he doesn't eat pork, you know. That's cool, but he's always trying to pork shame me, right? He's always like, oh, gross, you eat bacon and sausage. I'm like, man, I'm Korean, right? We eat dog, right? And you know the NFL is one Asian player, and he's a kicker. Could you not find a more racist position for this guy? What, you're gonna make him go out barefoot in a karate uniform? Yeah, I was watching the Oscars this past season, and towards the end I was getting all excited, right? I was like, hey look, they're bringing back the Mummy. But then I saw again, I was like, oh no, that's just Al Pacino. And you know, comedians will always tell you two things, right? They'll always tell you when they just get booked on a show. They'll always tell you when they just had sex. That's a bit juvenile, right? Like myself, I haven't been booked on a show in over a month. But I did get laid last week, so hooah! My name's Iwano.
Damn dog.
Giving over Ewan, you guys. And Peanut with the exclamation point at the end. Hell yeah.